critical. You realize that race is not political. But them was suspect of criminal. Yet working to live in love unconditional. Everybody just hold over. Promise and was the love. Everything them visualize. It's on love. Everybody just hold over. Promise and was the love. Everything them visualize. It's on love. The resolution rider. Everyone is thinking was the ends of the mini make for light world. You would learn to see each other as one family, same room, same trade. Imagine what tomorrow could be. Everybody lost all over. The moment and goes around. Everything visualize. Peace and love. Everybody lost all over. The moment and goes around. Everything on me visualize. Peace and love.
So many movies that I ever put together. So much pain that don't need to end. Young is picking up this way. So many homes that we have to win. Broken hearts how we like to. Lonely is only needs a friend. Hoping we can make a change. So I won't wait. Till it's too late. It's right. So you see it's not there. And I don't think we need to.
Like a river flowing into the ocean. Walking away home to all our responsibility. Yes, blissful is not home for so long. You grow up to bear and the space alone to each its own. I see all of this. I do the best thing in town. If I'm moving forward. Yes. Good morning. Happy Friday. I'm busy in the background, kind of doing a couple of other things and didn't realize the time. Time to start, get things going. All right, happy Friday, everybody. A lot of things going on. Very light volume in the pre-market as we are waiting. We got Fed Collins speaking right now.
Actually, she already spoke, I think. I have to check that. Hold on 1 second. Nope, Fed Collins is just starting right now on BTV. So we'll kind of look for any market volatility off of her comments. For the most part, Fed Collins has been a little more bullish for the potential rate cut. Kind of a fun fact that we have going on here with planned or scheduled Fed speaking or having comments or opening announcements or anything like that. You got to keep in mind that the White House gets all that information of the planned speech 24 hours in advance. Okay. So having that and knowing that or seeing that, we did see a reaction in the overnight market where basically a lack of volume, price dropped very quickly and steeply down to that level. And we'll take a look at that in just a moment. What I want to impress upon you, everybody, and what I'm doing for myself today is I'm staying on the simulator until things kind of quiet down and settle down a little bit after comments. We haven't seen Trump come out yet in front of Powell, so things might be slightly on, and this is just an opinion, slightly on the bullish side of things. Okay, if Powell was going to come out and say a lot of negative things, and the White House have his comments ahead of time, you would start to see how that behavior would kind of alter. Okay, now this is things we observe that does impact the markets. Okay. Before we get too far going into this, we do have three $50,000 evals for compliments of Elite Trader funding to give away during this session. So keep in mind, be ready for that. Maybe trading and getting your account approved. I was talking with a couple of students yesterday that are just with a couple $100 away from getting funded. They're taking small trades and they're pretty excited about that because once they're funded, they get a large percentage of that paid back to them. And I've also noticed that Elite Trader funding, once you get to the live funded account, that the payouts can be very, very quick. Okay, so you could make money that day and request a payout and receive it within a short period of time. Okay, now that's a lot of things that they're changing on there to help people get payouts faster as they make the money. So strongly encourage you guys to look at that as an additional source of income. Okay, Elite Trader Funding is doing a lot of changes and updates to their site, and just the proprietary trading firms. There's a lot of them out there. Do your own research and find out which one fits your style. Okay, there are some parameters around getting their and rules around getting funded. They want to make sure you last. They want to make sure that you can get past the evaluation and then continue to make money. Because if you're making money, they're making money. Okay, so a lot of support there. But we'll be giving three $50,000 eval accounts away. And I strongly encourage you guys to be the first to get one of them. Okay. Let's see. So a couple of things in the headlines, just observing rotation out of big tech sends S&P on its longest losing streak since January. Okay. Now we haven't made really a double top. And very often, if we're going to start a new downtrend, a double top does happen on some of the equity indexes. Okay. Now, I do expect a lot of volatility, and I believe there are some brokers out there that have restricted some of the day trade margin rates. So make sure you check with your broker to see if that is the case. When those brokers, and just as a heads up, when those brokers out there restrict the day trade margin rate because of potential volatility in the market, people blowing up their accounts and stuff, is that adds to the lack of volume. Lack of volume leads to much greater volatility. Okay. There will be some pretty good whipsaws and price moves, so we'll keep a close eye on that. Let's see. So expected Fed volatility, watch for lack of pre-market volume. We're already doing that. We're also noticing as we jump out to the charts and looking at crude oil on the daily chart, we did get a close yesterday above the 200 moving average. Now that can be perceived as bullish. Okay. So if price continues to stay above the 200, we'll look for it to get above the 50, and then potentially a new trend has started. Okay. But that also means gasoline prices are going to increase as well. So they've been doing their best to keep the crude oil and natural gas kind of in that trading range. Speaking of natural gas coming out, we got contract rollover happening probably today more so than because the 23rd is on a Saturday. Okay. And on the 27th, which would be on Monday, it's Wednesday. Okay, the 27th is last trade date for natural gas. Now, it's important to remember the contract rollover and last trade date for crude oil and natural gas. Since they roll out each month, we often see some pretty good swings in the market. And very often, if the day before the last trade date or upon last trade date, you get a big down move, often the price reverses back up very strongly. Now, go back and do your own research on this. Go back and look at each month around the contract rollover and last trade date, and you'll see some very, very consistent price patterns. Okay. So again, I use the Globex range. We got 0.6, we got 6 cents, and we got for the daily ATR, we have 12 cents. So we're looking at right now, the Globex range compared to the daily ATR is right in the middle. Now, if the Globex range is narrow or wide, those give us some really good trading opportunities. If it's in the middle, not so much. Okay, so right now we're in the middle, kind of like in a holding mode. Same thing for the crude oil. We have crude oil. This one is more on the narrow side, about 30% of the daily ATR. We're looking at about 57 cents. And we got $1.46 for the daily ATR. Okay. So we might see a good swing in price because the Globex range is narrow relative to the daily ATR. We're looking for more of a trending environment. Okay. So to the downside, that's the only one I have marked right now. We'll look for the opportunity for a long 62.37, 62.28. And anywhere along the way, we might, that'll put us back below the 200, and then I would anticipate price closing back above the 200. Okay. All right. As far as our equity indexes, as I mentioned before, and this evening here, oh, nice job, Candace. Good to see everybody over here. All right. Yeah, let's see. I guess, okay. Good to see a lot of folks over there in our please click that like button and subscribe if you haven't already for so we can get a little higher ratings on our YouTube. We are setting up a Rumble account as well. We'll be doing some new things with that next week with some live trading after we do our live trading room and stuff like that. So some new things coming out. We're still putting together. Dow 30 stocks. Right now we're showing that we've got 7 Dow stocks positive over 94 cents and 2 negative. That leaves us with 5 positive, times that by 2 will give us a value of cash. 2 times 5 would be 10. Cash equals 10 points. S&P trade futures are trading at 14. So S&P futures are slightly overbought relative to cash. Not enough to be looking for a trade at the moment. Okay. I also want to point out the volume. Look how light that volume is. Now, NVIDIA is in the news. NVIDIA has earnings coming out next week. And that usually after NVIDIA's earnings come out, that's pretty much the last little trickle of the earnings season. There are a few more to report. I think BABA comes out on the 29th, which might be a significant one to watch. Okay. But just keep in mind, NVIDIA could have a pretty big impact, depending if they include China numbers or not in their report. Okay. But notice the volume. I mean, this is very, 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 very light volume. Okay. And around the session open, even though we're seeing positive here, now you could imagine if you're watching CNBC and you don't see the volume, all you're seeing is, wow, United Healthcare up another $3.65, Caterpillar's up, American Express up, JP Morgan. You go, man, I'm feeling bullish today. But behind the scenes, there's really nothing propping it up. It's just a little smoke. Okay. Amgen is up $2 on 2,954 shares traded. Okay. Goldman Sachs still only 1,200 shares. You get a feel that a lot of folks are waiting. Okay. Now, the nice thing about waiting and seeing this is that when the market opens, the algorithms are going to go into effect and start to process orders. The first place that price is going to go is either up to find some sellers to offset the buyers, or it's going to go down to find some buyers to offset the sellers. All the algorithm cares about is making a market and keeping the market liquid. So the lighter the volume, the algos are going to be very, very fast and quick in processing orders. Price may drop to find the buyers and may rally to find sellers. Now, keeping that in mind, that whipsaw can be very violent, especially with some of the news and things like that we have going on currently. With some of the leaked information coming out about jobless claims and things like that, if we remember around the inauguration and when Trump took the office in January, shortly after that, he was asking a lot of folks to resign, a lot of federal workers. They got about 8 months worth of severance. Okay. So we're now in the 8th month. Next month and the month after, we might see unemployment rates start to climb pretty rapidly. Okay. Maybe that's what the Fed is waiting for to see. I don't know. Okay. But if those people have not found jobs, and we're also seeing that there's a huge unemployment number out of California, well, it's about 6.1%, which is, going to cause the Fed to kind of, make decisions based off of that. Let's see, Fed Collins is speaking right now. Not a done deal in terms of what we do at the next meeting. Job growth slowing, but arguments for taking more time. Yeah, there's a lot of comments from Fed Collins out there. We cannot wait for uncertainty to be behind us. Says overall economic fundamentals are relatively solid. Another positive news, Iran's foreign ministry, Iran and Europe foreign ministers agree to talk further. Hey, good morning, Liz. Oh, we've got Broadcom, Salesforce report after NVIDIA and others. Okay. You think the Fed would be more concerned about unemployment just of one state? I just mentioned California, only because I heard the numbers earlier, and I'm sure there's a lot more numbers that are coming out because the Fed jobs that were given the severance to, I think there was quite a few of those. They're across all states. So yeah, they're just kind of pointing out California to be in the limelight, I think. I don't think they'll make a decision just on one state. Oh, here comes Trump. United States is the hottest country in the world where there are no other countries that even close. And just think a year ago, dead country, yada, yada, yada. Well, he kind of sounds upbeat, doesn't he? So we must know something. All right. At any rate, kind of taking a look right here, we do have a level down below that I'm interested in. If price should retrace back down, we have made a small resistance level here, potential to the breakout to the upside where we do have an unfilled opening gap. Our prep screen zones are pretty far away. So again, kind of giving us some clues that once price starts going in one direction, is try not to fight it. Okay. Look for good entries and good risk management. Things are going to get a little crazy on this, or at least we're anticipating that they're going to get a little crazy. Okay. Again, light volume and such. Taking a quick look at a little larger time frame, 60-minute chart. I have the area down here, 63.45 by 63.25. Should price get a solid drop or reaction to the downside, okay, that's where I'd be looking. And not too much on the upside, okay? As far as the upside would go, this was another all-time high up here around that 6,500. If we're going to make a double top, then we'd be looking right around the 88.6% retracement area. But it does look like things are getting more to the bullish side as far as price moving back up to finish or complete the topping pattern. Other things that are notable on the S&P is the location of the 50 simple moving average, okay, and how price likes to retreat back to the 50 before moving higher, okay. Sometimes it gets close, sometimes it likes to touch it and bounce off of it, such as the NASDAQ did earlier this week. NASDAQ has already come back down in the overnight session and tested that 50-day moving average again. Not that the 50-day moving average has any significant as far as price bouncing off of it, okay, but price trading above it, markets perceive things are a little more on the bullish side. Price trading below the 50 moving average, market's perception is more on the bearish side. Dancing with that 50 moving average, we just want to be aware of it because prices, as you can see, just on the last 3 days, some pretty good volatility bounces up and down. 10 minutes before the market open, we do have the market open order imbalance coming out. And the order imbalance right now, as we're 10 minutes before the market opens, market open order imbalance, we got a buy imbalance on the Mag 7, the Dow 30, and a little mix on the NASDAQ and the S&P. Okay. Now, these are orders and there are different rules for the market open order imbalance versus a market on close order imbalance. Market on close orders cannot be canceled 15 minutes before the close. Okay. But market open can be canceled and readjusted. Okay. Up to the open. Right now, leaning more towards Mag 7, Dow 30 as a buy imbalance. Okay. And if traders want to buy, okay, if there's more buyers, they've got to match up with sellers. So think about it. Where would the sell orders be to take the other side of a buy imbalance? Now, these are pending orders. Yeah, they might want to shoot price up first to get some of those, connect with some of those sellers. Okay. Also some other things here, Fed Collins is speaking right now. She's probably done really quick, in a few minutes. Then we have Fed Powell's keynote speech. Okay. So we know that the White House already got that information. Okay. And then we got another Fed chairman speaks on CNBC. And Trump makes an announcement right around noontime Eastern. Okay. So a lot of things coming out that can be pretty dramatic, causing price volatility. With the additional low volume, you can see here we have the I got the top 10 large market cap weighted stocks, including the Qs on here. And you can still see that the volume is extremely light, barring NVIDIA. Tesla's got some good volume. Okay. So it's looking bullish, okay, but bullish on light volume. So that invites a lot more volatility. Larger time frame, 60-minute chart on the NASDAQ. Our zones are pretty far away. So depending on the reaction, price shooting up to find sellers or price dropping to find some buyers. Okay. All right. 1 second here. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. That'll be cool. Get my quiz questions ready for me. Thank you, team. Excellent. Okay. So not a lot of trading right at the moment. We're still gathering information. I mean, you can see that the equity indexes are just chopping sideways. We're all waiting for news. Everybody else waiting for news. We need to be just kind of doing our research and kind of finding where those extreme levels are, where we might take action once that price volatility comes into play. Okay. Dow making a move. Now the daily charts, as we described in the pre-market routine, where are we at here? Daily charts on the YM and the Russell continue to look bullish. Okay, meaning they've had a strong move up on the large time frame daily chart, and they've had a very shallow retracement to this point. Kind of like making a bull flag formation. Whereas the S&P and the NASDAQ have had bigger price volatility. NASDAQ came down and tested the 50-day moving average, and the S&P is still held above it. Okay. So again, the charts are setting up in a way where it would be kind of a surprise if we got a big drop in price on the Dow and the Russell. Okay. Because then it would look like a rally, the base, and a drop. Okay. But more in the context of an uptrend on the daily charts, a rally and a base and a rally is implied right now. Okay. And I'm trying to monitor the chat, not the chat, the news over here, looking for any post ahead of that that might lean a little bit more bullish or bearish. Another thing to keep in mind is, and this is some fun facts here, okay? With planned speeches and things like that, the White House gets information 24 hours in advance. But always keep in mind with breaking news and things like these speeches that are coming out, um, that the media gets those notes and the, what do you want to say, the speech, it gets it approximately 30 to 45 minutes ahead of time. Okay, so just after the open, or right about now, we're the media is getting the information and preparing for how they're going to spin it. Now, all of this news is placed in an environment, but somebody's always in the know ahead of time. Okay. And looking at, we got a nice little leg base right there that is formed. And if we look down at the daily chart, okay, notice we had that strong move up after the golden cross. Okay. Markets have been moving up pretty steadily. This move up, we got a move up and a base and a rally and a base. So now it's kind of decision point. It's going to be rally base rally or rally base drop. Okay. But the Dow and the Russell do look the strongest to continue their move to the upside. Okay. And taking a look at the Dow, S&P price did come back down yesterday, found a fair value gap in the speed bump area and pushed right off of that. Okay. If the market reacts to the downside, watch 44,900 for the Dow with a relatively pretty small risk on that trade. Looks like my net is slowing, so I'm going to stop the video to get things speed up a little bit. Okay. All right, about 2 minutes away from the market open, we can still see that the Dow is making a pretty nice move to the upside. Well, on a Fed day, you notice that you know, the a lot of times they take the vote whether to raise or lower rates around before they go to lunch. And during the lunchtime, they prepared a speech for opening comments and things like that, and to prep the White House ahead of time. Yeah, it's just the way that they disseminate the information. So what I look for is having an understanding that that does happen, is to look for any clues in the price behavior that, where buyers and sellers may be waiting. And then once the reaction happens, you really just can't be ready for that reaction. Okay. I mean, it gives us some other little clues. Wow, nice move on the Dow. And S&P is breaking above that as well. We're 1 minute away from the market open. All right, market is open. I am going to set my first trade up here. Just keep in mind, I am staying on this simulator today while this is all going on. I'm looking to sell short at 45,132. Start up. Yeah.
Order filled.
And they're using a fair value gap. Oh, I messed that up. Rookie mistake. I put the wrong
Order filled.
132. That's so short. No. Cancel that off there. I'm looking for some sellers up here on that. Let's see, Russell. Russell's also approaching that fair value gap area. And we have a couple of more down by the gap fill. The internals, wow, first time in 3-4 days. Wow, more than that. Wow, it has been since the 13th of August. We've had a nice pop on the upticks for the New York Stock Exchange. We also see that advancing issues over declining issues are at a high point here. And not very much indication from the VIX whether they're bullish or bearish at the moment. Okay. Crude oil, as anticipated, kind of quiet. And natural gas also just in that choppy, pretty much a choppy range there. But let's look at that area there as a potential fair value gap area. All right, so I'm going to get more into the trading mode. Okay, you can see how strong the Russell and the Dow are. We're still looking for supply. The S&P and the NASDAQ tend to be a little bit more choppy at the moment. Okay, so with the Dow approaching, again, let's look up there, 45,205. Let's come back over to Dow. Had a range I was looking for, but now I want a little more detail on a smaller time frame. There it is. Right, so things are again kind of quiet here. We got one Dow stock negative, which is Nvidia, and we're showing 18 positive. So S&P futures, or sorry, cash equals positive 34 compared to where S&P futures are trading at 18. So right now, S&P futures are oversold relative to cash. Okay. Let's take a look at a couple of the other ones. Also, with all this information dancing around, We need to be paying close attention to the 10-year, the 2-year yields and how the dollar will respond to this. We also noticed that the pre-market indicator for the NASDAQ 100 was relatively quiet. So with the pre-market indicator having two significant gap downs the prior day, it did provide us with a really good trading environment and some pretty good price swings. Today, it opened up flat. Okay. Also, we're expecting contract rollover on some of the 30-year, the 10-year, and the 5-year. They should be coming up in the next couple of days. With contract rollover, since they roll out before the last trade date, which would be in September 19th. Okay. The 30-year 10 and it rolls out 21 days in advance, 5-year 23 days, and the 10-year around 14. Okay. Dow shooting up. Okay. Now I'm looking at small time frame charts here, just trying to find a place to take a trade opportunity, and not seeing anything I want to jump in front of just yet. In our Mastering the Charts review and recap, and in some of our other live trading rooms that we do, and also working with students in our community room, we have been talking a lot about the fair value gap trade strategy. I created a workspace for that, and I'll be working with that a little bit later today. Trying to look for some short-term trades and where to enter and follow through. Looks like I missed the one here on the NQ as it popped back into it. Germany economy. There's nothing that came out. So let's go back out to our larger time frame, see if we have price approaching any supply. I think there's something out there. Somebody knows something right now. As we're starting to see a little activity on the metals market. We did have a couple of picks on the metal market. We got gold, silver still keeps moving up. Canadian dollar just dropped into demand, but the US dollar is not giving us a clear downtrend yet. So hold off on some of the FX markets until you get some clear news. Dow is just ripping. We do have an overhead large time frame resistance area. And we're also noticing that the 10 and the 2-year yield are moving lower, but the dollar is not in sync with them. Okay. Dow's approaching the fair value gap area, 45, 223. It's going up pretty strong right there. We do have a relatively small risk on that trade. I am going to try to take a counter trend trade off of that and see if we can grab a little bit there. Okay. 45,223. Going to look to sell short 5 micros. Stop loss will be just on the other side of that, about 245-ish. Okay. So a little bit larger time frame. Looking for an opportunity to take a short against the momentum. Okay. Trade is set up ahead of time. Let's jump out and look at a larger time frame. Yeah, that's going to be just a small, probably just a small bounce off of the resistance. Okay. Resistance is right in the same general area on a small, so a little bit higher risk trade on that. Okay. And let's see, mention as well on this time frame that there is a fair value gap about 45,029. Okay. Russell seems to be holding that range. Some unfilled orders there. Wow. Missed it by a tick. Let's double check the volume on the Dow 30 stocks. Well, it's picking up, but still on the lighter side. Okay. Let's do a quick little assessment of the cash value compared to the futures. We got 2 Dow stocks negative over 94 cents, one negative, and 20 positive. So 19 times 2 would be 38. Cash equals 38. Futures are trading at 35. Okay, 34 quarter. So futures and cash are relatively balanced at this point. Okay. For taking trades, we like to see the futures are oversold, dropping into demand, or futures are overbought, going into supply. Okay. We do have an unfilled opening gap from a couple of days ago around that 64.35-ish level. And that's a 5 p.m. close to 6 p.m. open. Okay. Okay, we're watching the Dow now as it approaches that supply. We'll see if it holds there. We're not expecting a trend change here. Okay, so this is relatively a higher risk. My immediate potential profit target is going to be price coming back down to about the 45,162. Okay. And that would be part of a fair value gap area to continue the move to the upside. Okay. Still need this candle to complete. And then when price comes down, we'll look for that to be an area, if you want to continue in the long, around that 45,161 area. Okay. That's a big fair value gap. The other thing that I'll point out is, when you see in these big price moves up here, okay, big price move like that, take a look over at the volume. The volume is very, very light, okay? Okay, stop loss. Nope, it's gonna get us. Very light volume. You can also, if you don't like doing counter trend trading, you can take it as it leaves the area at 45,223. I still expect price to come back down to 45,161 in order to have a long entry. Wow, that was crazy. I thought for sure I was gonna get stopped out. Now this is a counter trend trade, so be willing to take profits a little quickly. I'm gonna take some off the table,
Order filled.
taking one off, taking two
Order
off.
filled. Order filled.
Taking three off. I got two left,
Order filled.
taking one off. Okay, now I've reduced my risk down to about $100. Okay, we've locked in some profits. So even if price does go back up and stops me out, I've already locked in some profits on that. Okay, I'm still expecting that 45,161 and kind of leaving one as a runner. I'm willing to risk $100 to see if we get that pullback down to that 45,161. Remember, counter trend trading is you've got to be able to take your profits quickly. Okay. And due to the light volume in this area, I'm just gonna let this one work out. It's going to be a short runner, not a long one. Yeah, it does look pretty bullish over here. I think I'm going to go ahead and step aside on that. I don't need to let it stop me out. I need to wait for another.
Order.
All right, closing that one out. Let's take a look at the other indexes together. Go back and look at the Dow. Let's see, we just took the Dow. NASDAQ. The price did overshoot the level on the NASDAQ. Natural gas is back in the zone. Okay, so natural gas trade coming back to a fair value gap area inside of a leg base group of candles. We have a relatively low risk on the trade. I'm going to jump in and buy that one.
Order filled.
Two contracts of natural gas, and I'll place my protective stop there about 2766. Okay. Natural gas did have that accumulation. It broke out and now it's come back down to the origin of that move, implying that we should be looking for more of the uptrend. Now, I don't know if it's going to start here or start a little bit lower, but I do have my setup on the small time frame to participate in that. Okay. Remember, contract rollover and last trade date are approaching quickly. We're still on the September contract, but Monday morning, you will need to be on the October contract, the letter V. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of there's some shifting around in Trump's inner circle. Just saw a U.S. U.S. Department Treasury Secretary Faulkner is stepping down. And U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent thanks him for his service. We're also hearing some things about the FBI. Things are going to be changing up there as well. So a little bit of drama, a little bit of shifting around, things going on there. And we saw that in Trump's first term. If things were not going his way, just like the Apprentice show that he did many years ago, you're fired. But I'll give you the opportunity to retire. Let's see, we are approaching in 8 minutes. We do have, and on Financial Juice, just an incredible site for news, and that's where I'm getting a lot of this. Incredible site. And this is as close to a Bloomberg terminal you're going to get without spending $3,500 a month. Okay. Labor markets in transition. That might give you kind of that wink, wink, nod, nod about how Fed Powell's keynote speech is going to be. Now, I want you to be, if you are watching some of this information, to just watch how they start talking about, well, he's going to talk about this, he's going to say this, in the interviews. When you start seeing it, it's like, how do they know what he's going to say or do before he does it in a live broadcast? It's because they have his notes, as we described earlier. The media gets that information about 30 to 45 minutes in advance, whereas the White House gets the information approximately 24 hours in advance. Okay. In order to protect the markets. Looking across the board at the Dow 30 stocks, as far as the cash value, NVIDIA has made a pretty strong comeback. Let's see, we got 20 Dow stocks positive. 20 times 2 would be 40. Cash equals positive 40. S&P futures are trading at positive 37. S&P futures and cash are pretty much balanced. Okay. And let's see how we're doing it. So far, nat gas is holding steady. We need to look at the gold. We need to look at the 10 and the 2-year yield and the dollar. Okay. To get a feel for what the market is doing. We also seeing that the volatility index is pulling back slightly. Those are somewhat bullish signals so far. Now, the bullish signals do not make a trade. They just kind of say, hey, the weather's changing a little bit. All right, so I'm going to come back and start preparing for some volatility, as in about 6 minutes, we will have some of that coming out. This fair value gap, and I'm on a 3-minute chart. So the areas to the upside where I'll look to sell short. So, I mean, they look pretty far away. Still about 35 points for the S&P. We'll look up in this area, 64.60 for some sellers. Okay. Look for some buyers around 63.93. We've got kind of a wide range ahead of all of this. Okay. On the NASDAQ, a little bit wider range. It already used one of the fair value gap areas, so that's out of play. The ones to the upside are still pretty far away. Now, that doesn't negate, after news comes out, that other ones will not be created. Okay. But right now, this is where I want to sell short on the NQ at 23,671. I want to look for a long opportunity on the NQ if we get a price reaction down to 23,152 area. And same thing over here on the S&P. Small time frames, the zones look like they're pretty far away. Okay. Now, in context of trend on a higher time frame, depending on which higher time frame you use, okay, if you're looking at a daily chart, the trend is still up. Okay, so drop back down into demand before going higher. Okay. You would look to stay in a trade longer, how you determine trend. Okay. And we may have a couple of. Now this workspace I set up for kind of my intraday type trading, looking for small moves. And I'm in this example of what I'm doing right here is we are going to be looking for utilizing the fair value gap. I'm going to use 5 contracts on that. Okay. 5 micro contracts on each one of the trades that I'll be demonstrating here. Okay, these bars have to complete before I have the fair value gap area. That's why I put the time on it so you know when that bar completes. I have the lines in place, but the bar itself hasn't completed yet. I'm still about 1 or 2 minutes away. This is a very mechanical approach to taking short-term trades off of the equity indexes. So we have a plan. We still got 1 minute for this candle to complete to confirm this fair value gap. And then we have the next candle, which would complete if we have another one. Okay. Currently, I would be looking to take a short-term trade counter the higher time frame trend around 64.20. So I'm kind of planning my trade ahead of time here. As far as what I would be willing to risk on the trade, I got to give it to the top of the candle. I'm just going to put that out there ahead of time. $64.24. And oh, there it goes. Dang it. Did he do a rate cut? Wow, didn't even give me a chance to place that order. Holy smokeroos. Let's get back out to the larger time frame. Fed Powell, shifting balance of risk may warrant adjusting policy. Here we come. Open. And my data is slowing up here. So a lot of activity in the markets. And NQ daily chart does have some sellers right there, fair value gap, right where the 20 period moving average is on the daily chart, 23,497. But given the recent news, this could be a pretty big reaction. You know, we've got to go out to the higher time frames to pull in some of that data. But this could come right back down if he says, you know what, we'll look at the beginning of next year for a rate cut. Because he hasn't said the word rate cut, you know, he just downside risks to employment are rising. I do like that daily chart. Maybe that's why we haven't seen much of the Trump tweets. Now remember, all of this move, if you look at the volume, is on extremely light volume, light number of contracts trading here. It's basically just sweeping stops. Okay. Sweeping a stop. So let's on the NQ, I have an area 23,620. Larger time frame. I will look for a trade like we took on the Dow, short term counter trend trade. I don't have a place to go long, so 23,620 and a half. Let's get that trade set up. And the data is slowing up significantly, so I have to set this up ahead of time. 23,620. $620 and a half. Okay, trade set up. Once I'm into that trade, I will place my protective stop loss about 672. All right. Stop loss 23,672. So even showing that inflation is slowing down. Fed Powell data indicate 12-month PCE inflation rose 2.6 in July, core rose 2.9. All right, what do we have up on top? Oh, we got our prep screen zone. Wow, some big moves. All right, so Dow, I'm going to set up a trade here at the prep screen zone, 45,660. Just taking one mini contract. All right, so we've got a trade set up on the NASDAQ, a little larger time frame. We've got a trade set up on the Dow. S&P is also racing up to a supply area. 64,000 or 6,480 and a quarter. Okay. Now we're just gonna have to wait for price to come up to our supply area or come back down to our demand area. The price swings are a little too erratic right now and on light volume to just jump in and with that. Okay, let's take a moment and do a quiz. Let's do two quizzes here to give away two $50,000 trading accounts, compliments of Elite Trader funding, as we wait for price to get up to our levels here, where we're willing to take a trade. So the first question I'm going to bring out now, first one that answers in the chat, okay, it becomes the winner. What's the primary focus of the Fast Track Structures course? A, learning how to manage trading psychology using Fibonacci retracement, practicing order flow strategies, identifying market structures and anticipating moves. A, B, or C? Okay, take a guess. All right, got D. I don't know the answer to this one here. Could be a couple of them. And it'll answer is D. Nice job. All right, let's do one more while we're waiting because price is still moving up. Try. Oops, where are we at here? Yeah, look for an email to come out, or not an email. The team will reach out to you in just a second in the chat. Okay, nice job. All right, the second one, second $50,000 count to give away. Okay, compliments of Elite Trader funding. If your trade hits a stop loss, what's the most professional response? Throw the laptop out the window. Done that. Okay. Blame the markets. I've done that. Eat ice cream, pretend it didn't happen. Well, I usually take a nap and crawl into a dark corner or calmly log in your journal and review the setup. So for the second $50,000 Elite Trader funding eval account to get your account past the eval, get your trade funded, get some additional income coming in. What's the correct answer?
Order filled.
Hey, Roger. Oh, Roger got it. There you go. All right, looks like we got triggered on one. What did we get triggered on? The Dow. Boom. Did I? Oh, I did it wrong. All right. I put the wrong number in there. It should be 660, not 560. I did a rookie mistake here. So I made a mistake, put the wrong number in for my price. Now I can sweat it out and say, okay, I can hold on to it. It doesn't violate, or I can just simply step out. Okay. Let's give this a couple of seconds to See if we get a little bit of a pullback on this. Yeah, we got an extra one, Roger, so yeah, just watch for an email from the team. Yeah, let's come back in here at 660. Get it in the right place. My gosh, look at that move on the Russell. Yeah, price taking out several zones on that. But also remember, it's very light volume. So on the Russell, we have another prep screen zone. Just wipe this one out. And we're looking for the Russell right up there about 2363. Yeah, sometimes we make mistakes when we're putting a bunch of orders in, and boy, Russell, Golden Cross, boom, high tide base, nice retracement. Looks like it's making a run right up to that 2398 area. Well, I think traders are getting a little more anxious. Now traders putting 90% probability on a Fed rate cut in September versus 75% before. Now we got to see how Trump's going to handle that. Still has to make the September payment on the bonds and notes and stuff like that, which is going to cost the country a lot in interest payments. S&P approaching our number, our level. Stop loss will be 64.85. Once I'm filled. Five micro contracts, we got $100 risk on the trade. We found some unfilled orders here.
Filled.
We'll see if we find it enough to change the trend. Pretty strong up move. And it's right on the quarter hour. It arrived into that zone right on time. $24 down stocks, that's 48.
Order filled.
S&P, we got the NASDAQ. NASDAQ just hit the zone. Let's get our stop loss in place, 23,672.
Order filled.
Can't seem to adjust it fast enough. Here we go. S&P's topped me out. I'm gonna step out of the Dow because I wanted the 660 level.
Order filled.
All right, so the only one we're still in is the NASDAQ. And we don't need this anymore. The one thing that we're doing here at the market institution is we're looking to forecast potential turning points in the future, okay, with managed risk. We use the picture on the price chart, use a couple of different forward-looking techniques to participate in these type of trades, okay? And forward-looking techniques can be used with our leg-based methodology and approach. We also see that we have the fair value gap in there. And I do want to give a shout out to Elite Trader Funding, where I learned about the fair value gap. I've been trading for many years and never really seen how people use that fair value gap area or what it really was. Okay. And they have a good Discord room, good supporting staff that supports their traders out there. And, there's a lot of sophisticated traders out there that do mention different techniques and different things out there. So I learned about it. I went and started researching it, started putting it together. And, the fair value gap is now, after several weeks, it's starting to incorporate it into my trading plan along with our supply and demand zones that we have listed. You must have a forward-looking technique, okay? And you can, as long as you have a forward-looking technique and anticipate price turning points, okay, then you can assess your risk ahead of time if it fits within your trading plan. Okay. You can also plan ahead of time. And you also see that once it hits your level, you may have confirmation within about 5 to 8 bars after the turn where you're going to see your RSI, CCI, MACD, stochastics, and things like that. That's where you're going to see those come into play. Indicators and oscillators are confirmation. Okay. Now keep in mind, we just traded 5 micros. Okay. And I'm getting to kind of that feel good spot where I'm going to take a portion of the trade off and see how much we can, and then move a stop to a break even, see if we can keep this going. Did anybody get that one? That was a beautiful trade right there. Now it is going against the trend. It's going to be some additional volatility. So once you reach that, like, oh my gosh, that feels pretty good. I'm excited about the trade. That's where you want to look to take some off the table. Okay. Now I am watching the daily chart just out the corner of my eye right here, and I'm also seeing that the tick Q is reaching down into a buy program. Okay, so price right around that 20-day moving average off the daily chart. Price going back below it, we might see some accelerated price move down. If we're going to continue the uptrend, we would then look for price to be closing today, Friday, above that 20-period exponential moving average. Yeah, I think it's going to dance around here for a moment. Let's drop down to a smaller time frame on the NQ. Let's see what's in the way. Five-minute chart. Wow, 5-minute chart's just getting started here. Coming back to the origin of the move, actually, we have fair value gap. That's going to be my exit point right there. Exit point around that 479 area. I expect a bounce there. And I'm just going to grab the profit. Could go much lower. It's up to you how you trade your account. Okay. But my target for this 23,475. Now I do follow a lot of the stocks. You can see that the stocks are taking a breather or a break. Okay. And the stocks move first. Exchange traded fund moves second. So in order to get a continued move down, we would need to see the stocks pulling back a little bit. All right, 1 second. Back, take care of the pup. All right, let's see what we got setting up over here on our small time frame, see if there's any additional opportunities for us. Whew. Some crazy moves. So on our 3-minute chart, that one's already been used, so we're just gonna have to wait for the next setup here. Did we give away all the evals, team? Okay. Now, one thing I've learned by using the fair value gap areas is learning a little bit more patience, waiting for the trade to set up. Okay. And then allowing it to play out. Oh, Ben said one more, or Brian says one more. Okay. We just got a few more minutes here. We got one more Elite Trader Funding $50,000 account to give away. Here is the question. What does Mastering the Charts Recap and Review provide? Now, we do this class once a week on Wednesdays after our live trading room. Okay, so Mastering the Charts Recap and Review. A, does it provide live market signals? B, student question and answer applied to learning sessions? A crypto curriculum? Automatic backtesting software. So is the answer A, B, or C, or D? What does a Mastering the Charts Recap and Review provide for us? One more $50,000 eval account to give away. All right, what else did we get into? Just waiting. All right. So I'm going to head over to the Discord room. We have completed our live trading live stream. Gonna be needing to wait for a few well, nice job, AB Go. I'll be over in our Discord room and also be frequenting the Elite Trader Funding Discord room as well. And right now, you got to wait a little bit longer for some of these small time frame trades to set up. Okay. So one more look at some of our potential candidates here. Wow, silver's on the move, gold's on the move, platinum's on the move. Wow. And looks like the dollar must be coming down because look at that move on the Canadian. Boom. Right out of that zone. These levels are provided to our subscribers, usually about 30 to 45 minutes before the session starts, our live trading room, each and every day. We put those out there, giving some signals where we anticipate price to move from. And wow, the Dow just went bananas. Nasdaq still holding. S&P watts at 64.92, 64.509, or 65.09. My gosh. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit longer time to wait for some of these trade setups on the larger time frames now. Great session today. Had a couple of good trades. Join us next week and get your account set up with the Elite Trader Funding. Get that past that evaluation. If you have any comments or questions, please reach out to us. I wish everybody a happy Friday and a good trading day. Things are pretty volatile, but remember, these big green candles were all made with very light volume. Price coming back into that area could send us on a nice pullback, okay? As we go back to find real buyers. Have a great weekend, everybody, and thank you, team, for all you do. And we'll see you next week for our live stream. And for our subscribers, we'll see you Monday morning and we'll get things going. Have a great day, everybody. And thanks for joining us.